There's just something about boost noises that just hits different. You know, whether it's a blow-off valve, turbo flutter, or a sweet zippy supercharger whine, it always grabs our attention when we're out in public and we just hear it roll by, and then your girlfriend gets mad because you tore the attention away from the conversation, all that sort of good stuff. And you know what? I've never owned anything boosted, and just like any typical car enthusiast, I'm always looking at different cars online. And with that, you know, searching for something boosted, of course, because it just needs to happen. And a little while back, we did a video on some affordable turbocharged cars and realized that there are some pretty great cars out there that are still affordable, still boosted, only just this time with a supercharger instead of a turbocharger. So I went ahead and gathered a list of some of the most affordable supercharged cars that are out there right now that you can pick up for pretty damn cheap. I'm Giles from Fitment Industries, and before we go ahead and get into today's video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out our second channel, Fitment Industries Garage, which we've started to upload to more and more. We got a few other series over there as well that we just can't fit in on our main channel. You're not going to want to miss it. One of the ones that really popped up quite a bit on my search was the Mini Cooper S. Starting here in the United States in 2002, which was introduced as the new Mini Cooper. The Mini Cooper S was outfitted with a 1.6 liter supercharged 4-cylinder that made upwards of 163 horsepower. Weighing it right around at 2,600 pounds and paired with a 6-speed manual, it would make for a pretty good time. However, the little European hatch didn't come without its growing pains at first. It seems as though every model year that they were making, you know, they made fixes and adjustments from the previous year that it had before, and it really turned some people away from the car. The first generation of the new Mini Cooper saw production run from 2002 until 2006, labeling it as the R53 chassis. With the second generation coming out in 2006, Mini decided to ditch the supercharger and replace it with a turbocharger for their S models. Now, here we are many years later with Mini still being produced to this day. However, it was only the first generation of them that saw the supercharged engine. And when they came off the lot in the early 2000s, they had an original MSRP of right around $19,300. But today, if you start shopping around, you can expect to pick one up anywhere from between right around $3,500 to $5,000, depending on the miles and condition. With a change in pulleys, upgraded supercharger, a tune, and all that sort of good stuff, they are capable of getting up into that mid 200 horsepower range. But these cars still do have a little bit of that downfall, and that unfortunately is that they aren't the most reliable. And if you don't know, these cars were developed and manufactured by BMW and tend to carry that BMW tax when it comes to parts and repair. Things like the radiator overflow tanks, the crank seals, oil pan gaskets, some electrical problems are all things to keep an eye out for if you're looking to get into one. Our suggestion would be to look for either somewhere like a 2005 to 2006, as like I said, they got better as the years went on. Moving on to car number 2, we have the Scion TC. Now you're probably sitting there wondering, the Scion TC, like that doesn't have a supercharger, and you're correct. However, it was an add-on option that was part of the TRD packages. When the TC first came out in 2004, it was originally announced that eventually there would be a supercharger that would be coming to the platform soon. In 2005, that finally happened, offering 25% bump in power to 200 horsepower. The rebadged Vortex supercharger would actually have to be ordered and installed by the Toyota or Scion dealer. And this add-on would run the new owner right around $3,200 plus the installation fees. From 2005 to 2008, even though the dealership would set the amount of boost to 6 PSI, they were actually capable of like upwards of 20 pounds of boost. However, starting in 2008, they decided to put a tamper-proof pulley on them because, you know, warranty things. And then unfortunately in the mid-2009s, CRD decided just to pull the plug on the whole thing and just get rid of the supercharger option as a whole. So that leaves us with these just randomly supercharged Scion TCs scattered all over the country. And if you can find one where the supercharger hasn't failed and the owner just decided to ditch it and throw it in the trash and just run it naturally aspirated like our boy Mario, then you can pick one up anywhere between $5,000 and $6,000 typically. The third car of the day is actually the one that was in the turbocharged video. However, this time we're going to talk about its supercharged older brother, the Cobalt SS. When the Cobalt SS first came out in 2005, it was packing the supercharged 2-liter LNJ engine. The supercharger is an Eaton M62 Roots type supercharger that helped produce 205 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque. The supercharged SS only came in a coupe, but then later on in 2008, when they switched over to the turbocharged models, it was finally available in a sedan. At the time, GM was offering a dealer installed detailed performance package that they like to call stage kits. And they actually still were able to be covered under the factory warranty. They were available in a stage 1, a stage 2, and a stage 3 option. Stage 1 including some upgraded injectors and a tune, and typically saw about a 30 horsepower bump in numbers. Stage 2 also had those injectors and a tune, but threw in a new belt and pulley, which gained right around 36 horsepower. And then stage 3 was pretty much balls to the walls, and that included a smaller pulley, a new intercooler end plate, and an entirely new ECU, which was programmable and acceptable at taking a 50 shot of nitrous, because just why the hell not? When the Cobalt SS hit the dealerships, it had a suggested MSRP of $22,000, and right now can be scooped up pretty cheap for anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. Now, I'm just gonna have to ask you to bear with me for this next car here, all right? Because car number 4 is gonna be a little bit of an oddball, but I hit up our boy Sean, who's part of our FI team, actually has a few series over on Fitment Industries Garage channel, and he just loves just weird cars, all right? So I usually ask him or hit him up for some suggestions for videos like this, and he introduced me to the Toyota Previa. But not just, is this any ordinary minivan? Because if you know what this is, well, you just already know. More specifically, the all-track version. So the Toyota Previa LE SC all-track is a very unsuspecting vehicle. And when you open up the tiny hood to take a good look under it, you really won't find anything. Because guess what? This is technically a mid-engine vehicle. The driver and passenger seat actually sit on top of it with a hump that just houses a 2.4 liter twin cam supercharged engine, which produces a whopping 158 horsepower. It's all-wheel drive, and on top of that, it seats 7 people. I mean, it's just a weird car, man. The supercharger provides 6 pounds of boost, and it was intended to put the Previa in competition with other Grand Caravans of the day with their V6 engines. And even though the Previa is not a sports car by any means, they aren't the most common, and they were only brought over to the States for a few years in the 90s, it still deserves a spot on the list, because if you can find one, you can get them for just stupid cheap, $2,000 to $3,000. And if, of course, a little more, upwards of $5,000 for a really nice one. And then to wrap it up for the day, for car number 5, we're gonna kick it back on over to the Germans with their Mercedes SLK 230 compressor, and more specifically, the first generation of these cars, because those are the ones that are going for the cheapest right now. The first generation ran from 1996 up until 2004, and actually had later on a partnership with Chrysler, and we'll get into that in a bit. And it is sometimes referred to as the R170 chassis. The SLK is a 2-door roadster and was a Mercedes attempt to create a sporty, light, compact car, hence SLK. The later years of the 230 compressor packed an M111.975 engine, which is a 2.3 liter supercharged 4-cylinder, which produced upwards of 190 horsepower. Earlier years and different variations of the M111 ranged in displacement as well. You might be thinking, man, this car maybe looks a little bit familiar, and you're probably wondering why. And that's because, the SLK 230 shares about 80% of its parts with the Chrysler Crossfire. When new, they listed these cars at an MSRP of right around $39,000. And if you know anything about European cars, especially Mercedes, they just seem to be a prime target for a little thing called depreciation. Today, you can pick up an SLK 230 compressor with some lower miles for 60,000 miles or so for right around $6,000 to $7,000. If you go up in mileage and crest over that 100,000 mile mark, maybe right around 90,000 miles, you can expect them to be right around 4 or 5. Now, there are a ton of other affordable supercharged cars out there on the market, and we set our budget for this video to kind of stick below that $10,000 mark, which kept out a few cars that couldn't necessarily make the list, but we just thought that we would throw them in as a mention. And those would be some other great cars to take a look at too if you're in the market, which would be the first gen Toyota MR2 and the Volkswagen Corrado G60. Some fantastic cars, they look killer, they're just freaking cool. Just go check them out. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today. Go ahead and drop a comment down below on what your favorite car is, or maybe some that we missed. There's a lot out there. Maybe like a Saturn Ion Redline. Even though I'm not a huge fan of them, I know there are some people out there. It's kind of a quirky car. I'd rather take the Previa, I'm not gonna lie. But that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And then of course, wheels, tires, suspension, fitmentindustries.com. But I'm Gels. We'll see you later. Peace.